Every journey begins with a step, and so does this one, and here we mean so in a very literal sense. So here we begin our query into the tradition of the navigator, or the wayfinder, or those pioneers of exploration that were responsible in the most primary way for the expansion of humankind, both in a geographical and technical sense throughout history. Here, with this series of videos, we intend to examine techniques, both modern and ancient, and to especially pay attention to the way of the navigator as a practice, even a spiritual practice. For as up until recent times, it was certainly seen as such in most societies. The art and practice of navigation is simply nothing else than the skill of finding one's place in the world. The innate symbolic value of such a task is obvious and should not and never be neglected as we learn these core skills. For as one proceeds, the attunement one reaches as an advanced practitioner of this craft is nothing short of the ability to gain a rare, precious, and authentic inner rapport from the intuitive self, essential to the navigator, and in a manner validated by confirmation of consistent results in the real world, and a confidence in being and that in that of relating, which is rarely, in my opinion, found in other paths. So this is a real path, a real practice, and one with real results. And the results and the skills will be real and immediate. How far your skill can carry you, of course, is up to you. But it should be obvious to us that the greatest navigators throughout histories were those, in fact, who did and always will go, in the future, in fact, the furthest. These lessons are intended to function as an apprenticeship. They will need to be necessarily studied in series, and the skills within learned to a sufficient degree of confidence to act. Without achieving this confidence of judgment and confidence in the skill, it will be impossible to progress. The skills will build one upon each other. So take the time to test, to validate, to confirm, and only then to move on. So we will start very simply. We will start by simply learning how to walk a mile. The goal is to walk a measured mile while keeping an accurate internal count of the pairs of strides. One counts only the right leg as one proceeds. For most people, this will be a number of around 1,000 strides. Of course, the origin of the mile and why it is called a mile. It is important to do this several times and to get a good, confident, consistent number. For me, having trained this for years, my personal number is 982 strides per mile, very consistently, with perhaps no more than plus or minus 5 strides deviance on flat ground. Whatever your number is, the goal of the exercise is this. It is to come to an intimate, instinctive knowledge of a given measure of distance, one of human scale, and to fully internalize it as an idea, innately, of what a mile really means to you. To further enhance this ability, and to demonstrate the core principle necessary of testing and confirmation essential to navigation, one could also, once one has learned what count makes for a personal mile, to then, without road markers or on unmeasured ground, to walk a count of paces that one has identified with a mile, using then perhaps a cell phone app or a GPS to verify one's correct identification of the mile. Identify the mile intuitively, predict, and validate with the instrument. Again, Attempt the intuitive and verify with the instrument. This will be core to our practice as we go further. In this manner, we rapidly build confidence with our inner intuitive dialogue. Practice and progress can be rapid with dedicated effort. And it is important to be dedicated, as it is essential to have an innate sense of distance, as it is a core skill. And without it, further progress will be extremely difficult. One will quickly learn that there is much more to walking a mile than one may initially believe, as many will discover that the ability to simply retain enough inner focus to keep track of the stride count for 10 minutes is simply unavailable. This may be the first lesson for many. Again, practice will show us our lacks, but practice will also remedy them, and it is certainly very worthy to be aware of the fact of our defects. So it does not hurt also to develop personal strategies to further test and confirm this skill. We need not to be dogmatic in the practice, but only insistent that our goal is to gain a confident and fully internalized knowledge of what a mile means and to consistently recognize it. That's all. So once we have some feedback on this page of the sufficient number of individuals who have reached at least some level of mastery with this mile practice, we're going to release the next video. The next video will involve hand-bearing compasses and the practice of orienteering. In preparation for that video, it will be necessary for anyone who wants to go further to acquire a hand-bearing compass of some quality. A personal favorite of mine is the Silva Ranger, but there are others that are equally as good. It may take you a little time to locate one, but they should be readily available. So best of luck. I strongly encourage dialogue and lessons with your peers here in the comments below, especially concerning the interesting interplay that you will discover between the acquisition of this technical knowledge and the interesting perceptual changes that will be an inevitable result. We must focus on those as we go further. I appreciate the courage. Thanks for the effort.